When we look at the grand tapestry of world history, there are stories that have been told so often they feel like the only ones that matter. But hidden within that tapestry are threads of gold, threads that tell of empires and civilizations that are just as magnificent, yet remain largely unknown to many. The Songhai Empire is one of these golden threads. It stands as powerful, undeniable proof that Africa was home to great and advanced societies long before the first European ships arrived on its shores. This was not a continent waiting to be discovered. It was a continent of kings, scholars, and sprawling cities, and Songhai was one of its brightest jewels. The very existence of this empire challenges old, tired narratives and invites us to see a more complete, more accurate history of our world. The story of the Songhai Empire is a story of immense scale and incredible wealth. At its peak in the 16th century, it was one of the largest empires in African history, stretching over a vast territory in West Africa. This was a land of incredible resources, most notably gold. The control of the trans-Saharan trade routes, which had for centuries carried gold, salt, and other precious goods across the vast desert, made the empire fabulously wealthy. This wealth was not just stored away, it was the engine that powered a sophisticated society. It funded a powerful army, supported a complex government, and fostered a culture of deep learning and artistic expression. The Songhai Empire was a testament to what African people could build, organize, and sustain on a grand scale. This empire was more than just a political or military power, it was a cultural beacon. The leaders of Songhai understood that a great civilization is built not only on military might, but also on knowledge and faith. They created an environment where education and Islam flourished side by side. Scholars from across the Muslim world traveled to its cities, drawn by the promise of intellectual freedom and vast libraries. The rulers established a system of justice based on Islamic law, creating a stable and orderly society for their diverse population. This fusion of African traditions and Islamic scholarship created a unique and dynamic culture, one that left a lasting legacy on the entire region of West Africa, influencing its art, its laws, and its very soul. The sheer organization of the Songhai Empire is a marvel to study. It was a highly centralized state with a sophisticated bureaucracy that could manage a territory larger than Western Europe. The emperor, known as the Askia, held ultimate authority, but he governed through a council of ministers and appointed governors to oversee the empire's many provinces. They developed a system of standardized weights, measures, and currency, which made trade more efficient and unified the economy. This level of administrative complexity shows a society that was highly developed and forward-thinking. It was a well-oiled machine, carefully designed to manage its great wealth and its vast multicultural population, demonstrating a level of political innovation that rivaled any other empire in the world at that time. At the very heart of the Songhai Empire were its magnificent cities, each one a vibrant center of commerce and culture. The capital, Gao, was not just a political hub, but also a thriving commercial port on the bend of the Niger River. It was a place of immense wealth where goods from deep within Africa met with products from North Africa and the Middle East. Imagine its markets overflowing with gold dust, precious ivory, cola nuts, and salt slabs so valuable they were sometimes traded for their weight in gold. The Great Mosque of Gao, a stunning example of Sudano-Sahelian architecture, stood as a symbol of the city's importance, its earthen walls reaching toward the sky as a testament to the empire's faith and prosperity. Further up the Niger River lay the legendary city of Timbuktu. Its name alone has become a synonym for a distant, almost mythical place, but for the Songhai Empire it was very real and profoundly important. Timbuktu was the empire's intellectual and spiritual capital, a celebrated center of learning. It was home to the University of Sangpur, which was not a single building but a collection of independent schools, each led by a master scholar. These schools attracted the brightest minds from across the Islamic world. They studied not just theology but also mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and law. The city's libraries were said to hold hundreds of thousands of manuscripts, making it one of the greatest repositories of knowledge in the world during its time. Not far from Timbuktu was the city of Jenne, another vital commercial and cultural center. Vienna was famous for its grand and intricate architecture, most notably its Great Mosque. Rebuilt in the 20th century on the site of the original 13th century structure, this mosque is the largest mud brick building in the world and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Its towering minarets and smooth, sculpted walls showcase a unique architectural style that perfectly blended local materials with Islamic design principles. Jenne, like Timbuktu and Gao, was a key node in the trans-Saharan trade network, a place where diverse cultures met, exchanged goods and shared ideas, further enriching the cultural fabric of the mighty Songhai Empire. These cities were the engines of the empire, connected by the lifeblood of the Niger River and the sandy highways of the Sahara. They were more than just collections of buildings, they were living, breathing organisms that pulsed with energy. In their markets you could hear dozens of different languages. In their mosques and universities you could witness the passionate exchange of ideas. Structures like the Tomb of Askia in Gao, a monumental pyramid-shaped tomb built by one of the empire's greatest rulers, stand today as silent but powerful reminders of this golden age. These heritage sites are not just relics of the past, they are proof of a complex urban civilization that shone brightly in the heart of Africa. The Songhai Empire began its rise to prominence in the 15th century under the leadership of a brilliant and ambitious warrior king named Songhai Ali. He was a military genius who used a powerful army and a fleet of war canoes to conquer the weakening Mali Empire, laying the foundation for Songhai's dominance. However, it was his successor, Askia Muhammad I, who truly elevated the empire to its golden age. Taking power in 1493, Askia Muhammad was not just a conqueror, but also a visionary statesman. He understood that to rule a vast and diverse empire, he needed more than just military strength. He needed a unifying vision, a strong government, and a common system of laws. Askia the Great, as he came to be known, embarked on a famous pilgrimage to Mecca, a journey that profoundly shaped his reign. He returned not just with spiritual renewal, but with new ideas about governance and administration. He centralized the empire's bureaucracy, replacing local hereditary chiefs with loyal administrators who reported directly to him. He created professional positions for directing finance, justice, agriculture, and the army, building a government that was efficient and organized. This centralization was key to his success, as it allowed him to consolidate his power and manage the empire's vast resources and diverse peoples more effectively than any ruler before him. Under Askia's rule, the empire reached its zenith of power, wealth, and intellectual achievement. He was a devout Muslim and used Islam as a unifying force. But he was also pragmatic, respecting the traditional beliefs of his many subjects. He reformed the legal system, basing it on Islamic law or Sharia, which created a uniform code of justice across the empire. This brought stability and predictability to trade and daily life. He also became a great patron of learning, actively supporting the scholars of Timbuktu and Jenne. His reign saw an explosion in the production of books and manuscripts, turning the Songhai Empire into a beacon of knowledge that attracted scholars from far and wide. The empire under Askia the Great was a model of stability and prosperity. His professional full-time army secured the borders and protected the vital trade routes, ensuring that the flow of gold and salt continued uninterrupted. The peace and security he established allowed culture and commerce to flourish. Cities grew, scholarship deepened, and the wealth of the empire became legendary throughout Africa and the Middle East. Askia's reign represents the absolute peak of the Songhai Empire, a time when political stability, military power, economic prosperity, and cultural brilliance all came together to create one of the most impressive civilizations of its time, a true African Renaissance. Every great empire, no matter how powerful, eventually faces challenges that test its foundations. For the Songhai Empire, the end came not from within, but from an external force armed with a new and devastating technology. By the late 16th century, the empire was weakened by a series of internal succession disputes following the death of Askia the Great. Across the Sahara, the Sultan of Morocco, Ahmad al-Mansur, eyed Songhai's legendary wealth, particularly its control over the gold mines. He dreamed of reviving the trans-Saharan trade for his own benefit and decided to launch a daring invasion across the desert, a feat most believed was impossible. In 1591, A Moroccan army of about 4,000 soldiers, led by a Spanish eunuch named Judar Pasha, set out on the arduous journey across the Sahara. While the Songhai army was vastly larger, numbering around 40,000 men, the Moroccans possessed a decisive technological advantage: arquebuses, a type of early firearm, and cannons. The Songhai forces, armed primarily with traditional weapons like swords, spears, and bows, had never faced gunpowder technology on this scale. The two armies finally met at the Battle of Tondibi, near the capital city of Gao. The confrontation would prove to be one of the most pivotal moments in African history. The battle was a catastrophe for the Songhai. The thunderous noise and deadly efficiency of the Moroccan firearms created panic and chaos among the Songhai soldiers and their cavalry. The traditional tactics that had served the empire so well for centuries were rendered useless against an enemy that could kill from a distance. The brave Songhai warriors were decisively defeated, and the empire's military might was shattered in a single day. Following the victory, Judar Pasha's forces marched on to capture the great cities of Gao, Timbuktu, and Jenne, plundering their wealth and destroying their centers of learning. The heart of the empire was broken. The fall of Songhai marked the end of an era. The Moroccans were able to conquer the empire, but they were unable to effectively govern it from across the vast Sahara. The empire splintered into smaller, weaker states, and the great trans-Saharan trade routes fell into decline, shifting instead towards the coasts, where European powers were beginning to establish their presence. The destruction of the Songhai Empire was a profound loss, silencing one of Africa's most vibrant intellectual and cultural centers. Yet its legacy endures. The story of Songhai is a powerful counter-narrative to the myth of a dark continent, providing irrefutable evidence of Africa's glorious past and its great forgotten civilizations.